Next on the Athena Project, Professor Abel Ortiz and the Uvalde murals.
Plants the seed for positive change in this country because we need it. We basically need an epidemic of empathy.
What a lovely idea, an epidemic of empathy. But like the profoundest lessons in life, this one also comes from a deep well of pain. The tragic shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas on May 22nd, 2022. Professor Ortiz is an art teacher. And when he heard of this, he immediately thought, how can we honor the lives of those 19 children and 2 teachers who lost their lives? What can we do to memorialize the lives that could have happened and the brokenness that we feel now as a community? So he contacted Dr. George Meza, who helped with fundraising and his expertise in trauma, who together they contacted Monica Maldonado, who became a project director for a mural project. So bringing together artists from the area, they embarked on a tremendously engaging project to include the families and the community in the construction of a memorial for these children and their teachers in a way that would begin the process of healing. Friends, I bring to you a wonderful man, Dr. Abel Ortiz, and his story. I am so grateful to have with me Dr. Abel Ortiz from Southwest Texas College, where he is a professor of the arts. And he's in Uvalde, Texas. We are going to talk about a wonderful project that Professor Ortiz launched to create a series of murals to commemorate the horror that happened some years ago and the transformative power of the arts. So, Dr. Ortiz, welcome. I'm so grateful to have you. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you again. I just want to correct that I don't have a doctorate, but I do have my MFA, so you can call me Professor Ortiz.
Oh, okay. So it's just my esteem for you. Well,
Thank you.
I wanted to jump right in with a pretty serious question. You know, I've been doing trauma work for 40 years, and invariably the people who are attracted to this kind of work have something in their background that they know that suffering can lead to some kind of a transformation. And the arts is something you've brought to that process. Do you feel comfortable sharing with us how it is you've come to put all these things together?
Well, again, the arts in general, all the arts, have that power that sort of maybe it's underestimated in our
Mm,
society.
mm,
That art can heal, can help calm. And so from my own experience as an
mm,
immigrant kid back in 1973, we came
mm.
from Mexico, and I was close. It was in August 1973,
August
and
1.
it was a week before school started, and
Wow.
I was 7.5 years old.
Wow.
I hadn't been to school in Mexico yet, and so my first experience in school was that next week. And again,
Wow.
was a very traumatizing first day. I remember it like it was just yesterday because my mind records visually everything.
Mm, mm.
So I still remember the orange paisley dress that Mrs. Wilson wore, my first grade teacher. She was a tall, blue-eyed, redhead lady, older lady, and with a 10-gallon hairdo. Um, but she was really kind and very sweet. But
Mm,
that day, I was terrible because I was crying, kicking, you name
mm,
it. I couldn't understand anyone.
mm.
And so going to recess, that's when I found my opportunity to try to escape.
Ah.
So Mrs. Wilson had me really tight by the wrist, and I kicked her in the leg, let go, and she had all the kids chase me to the fence. I was trying to climb the fence,
Oh.
and they brought me back. And there was fortunately one guy that could speak broken Spanish, and I understood that the teacher said to try to teach me how to swing. So they got me back to the swings, and again it was a terrifying day,
Yeah.
the whole day. So what Mrs. Wilson did, and I'm really grateful for this because I already loved art. I already drew a lot and everything else.
Mm,
But because she figured out that I couldn't do the work, that was going
Mm.
to be assigned throughout the year, reading or whatever we had to do. She just set me aside in the corner, but not as punishment. She gave me crayons, markers, pens, paper, and every day I would come in and draw,
Uh,
and I was calm,
yeah.
and and it helped me give me a sense of belonging because the kids
Mm.
over and they were amazed at what I was drawing.
Mm.
So I felt like I belonged in the classroom
Ah,
through that
okay.
whole process, and that calmed me even more. And
Yeah.
and because the kids were amazed, oh wow, that's Superman, all this, and that's Snoopy. And so um, that sort of experience really is what led sort of to me to understand that art can have that power, that calming,
Mm.
that healing power.
Mm.
Um, and of course, I never forgot that. But I've seen it throughout art history too. There's so many examples from art history that we can draw from where art can help heal and calm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it sounds like I would have loved to have seen you in that corner drawing Superman and Snoopy and things, and the kids, immediately understanding what that was and laughing and, patting you on the back. And
Yeah.
so there's a kind of communication when words fail or when there are no words. Yeah,
That's when art comes in.
yeah,
And so that's where we communicate through the visuals more so than through words, right?
yeah,
And so it takes down that barrier. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
I did go on to fail the first grade, obviously, but I took summer school and I picked up the English, started to assimilate at that point,
Yeah,
and so I did much better the next year. So
yeah, yeah. Well, we don't really appreciate, the white culture doesn't appreciate that the immigrants who come to this country are the cream of their own country. The courage it takes to pick up and leave everything the courage, the vision, the determination, these are the best qualities of humanity. So I want to acknowledge that in you and say that thank God, because you were put in a place that you can really do and have done something really quite remarkable. Can you take us to that horrible, horrible day and the days immediately after and tell us how this whole project unfolded?
well, I really do remember that first night, that evening. It rained all night, very strong. It's almost like the heavens opened up and all the
Mm.
tears came down at once.
Mm.
But what oddly, it didn't rain the rest of the summer.
Ah.
It just until I think it was early September, late August,
Mm.
that got another
Mm.
rain. So I'm trying to set up here the heat that we worked under
Oh, right, right. Yeah.
creating the project. But uh, that's what I remember the most from that night. But sitting watching the news all day the next day and the trauma that my kids also went to because they had to be in lockdown while they were in school and that day uh, I was in my office when it happened. My daughter sent me a text from the high school. She was at the high school and she told me there was a lockdown and that she even sent me a video of all the students hiding under the
Mm.
desk. And I told her, well, don't worry because that's usually immigrants are bailing out, and so they
Mm.
usually lock down the schools every time that happens.
Mm.
And so it must be another one of these things. And she
I
said,
see.
no, no, Dad, it looks like it's a real shooter at Robb. And then she sends me a video. I don't know how these kids are so fast at it. She sends me a video of the guy going into the school.
Oh,
And,
no.
and that's when that it really started to kick in
Yeah,
or sink in.
yeah,
And here in my office, I'm off at the college, so I'm off at the edge of town.
yeah.
The airport's right next door. And I started to see a stream of medevac helicopters come in.
Oh, boy.
And that sort of confirmed everything for me then.
Oh,
Uh,
boy.
and then again, getting home that night when hearing the rain, and I just imagine the crime scene with all the rain hitting the windows
Mm.
and everything else. It
Mm.
was just um, really a nightmare for everybody, of
Yeah,
course. Nightmare that's beyond nightmares, really.
yeah,
Um, and so the next day, I said, I gotta do something because what can I do
yeah.
as a community member? Can we hold some maybe a barbecue plate sale or wash cars to raise money for the families and stuff like that? And then I asked myself, well, I'm an artist. I have that power of art that I can use to maybe help heal the community. You know, and like I said, plenty of examples from my own life as far as uh, calming and healing through art, and of course through art history. So that's when I told my wife we're watching the news, and I told her, look, we can use a wall on our building. We have an old movie theater downtown,
Mm.
which has a long wall, right? At
Right, sure.
1931,
Hmm.
and I said I'm going to paint a memorial mural for the children and the teacher on that wall. And she said, great, that's a great idea. And so I had her support because remember, she owns half the building. I got to ask her. So and so she was on board, and that's when I started to think, wait a minute, is that really good enough? Only one mural.
Yeah.
I would really like to this to be a memorial art walk where you actually walk from one mural to another mural and you basically begin to stitch a wound, like you said earlier. That's
The,
the whole
the,
idea. And so
go into that idea a little bit more about stitching a wound.
well, the original idea, because again, if it's only on one wall, if the memorial mural would have been on one wall,
Mm.
you don't have that space to reflect and the time to reflect and meditate as you go from one mural to another mural.
Mm.
And you become the stitch for the wound
Mm.
in that sense, right?
Mm.
So as you're and my hope is through that meditation and that reflection that it brings about change,
Yeah, yeah.
and it plants the seed for positive change in this country because we need it. We basically need an epidemic of empathy uh, that I think is missing in our country these days. And so as you go from one mural to the next mural, you think about the kids, you think about your own kids, maybe you think about the future of this country, because the future of any country are the children, and they need to be protected at all costs. So as you go from one to the next one, maybe a memory might come up as to your own childhood, because all the murals include all these beautiful memories from the children, their favorite sports, their
Mm.
favorite foods. And so you start to connect with the stories, because you might also like uh, Capri Sun orange juice, or you might also like uh, watching videos on TikTok, or
Yeah,
you also
yeah,
like softball or baseball, and you start to relate to your own childhood, and it takes you back.
yeah.
Back in the 80s, we didn't have this stuff. We didn't experience
No,
any of this stuff.
yeah.
And so this is really shocking. And so you need that calmness, that meditation to really be part of the whole experience of walking the murals. And I tell a lot of people that come by that you need to walk them. You can't drive them. You're gonna
Mm.
miss you're gonna miss the stories.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so many people do get off and they walk. And that's a whole idea from the original design of the murals.
Mm.
So in order for that to happen, I had to secure walls in different locations. And so that next day, I went to businesses to ask about if I could have the walls for this project. And maybe I didn't sell my vision quite as well as I should have, because I was rejected a lot. But there were some other business owners that bought into it. And I was lucky that I brought in one business owner that was on the historical board,
Mm.
and she was key to giving me all the permissions eventually when we have all the walls available. Um, but it was a process. And again, I was very happy that at the end we did have that walking memorial, that
Yeah.
stitching of the wound. And so every time somebody walks the murals, we have a new stitch on that wound.
Mm. Oh boy.
And
That's
and they, again, hopefully they take that seed of change we
mm,
need for the future. So
yeah. Boy, that's so moving. How
mhm.
did you choose the photographs that you worked from?
Well, uh, just to give you some context before that, um, once I organized the team, once the team started to come together within 2 weeks, that includes Dr. George Mesa and Monica Maldonado. I insisted after having some meetings, I insisted that we wait to approach the families about doing the murals until the last funeral.
Mm.
And the idea was to have a consent form designed, and Monica designed the consent form, because remember, these are going to be portraits
Right.
of children
Right.
faces. And then also included with that consent form was a background form. So the families would write everything that they liked, the toys that they played with, or if they liked sports and music or whatever. And so we had sort of research there, but we also asked the families to choose a photograph or two that they would be happy to have as a mural. And so the photographs were selected by the family members. And
So that must have really engendered conversations within the family, and so that they were telling stories about the child, having a chance to, grieve.
right.
There's a saying that grief ends with the telling of 1,000 stories. And
Yes,
so just choosing those pictures, they were reviewing the best of their child's life.
right. Right. And in fact, in my phone right now, I still have a bunch of the pictures because the family would ask me if I could help them decide, but said, look,
Wow.
the decision has to be yours. I love all the pictures.
Oh, yeah.
They're beautiful pictures. And they eventually wind up choosing the picture that they wanted.
Wow.
And so again, we wanted them to be part of the whole process from the beginning. And even during the painting process, we would invite the families to come in, and as far as in my mural, and I saw it with other artists, I invited the family to come in to paint flowers, and they would have a hand in the process of creating the mural.
Oh,
For Ellie,
fantastic. Yeah.
I painted Ellie Garcia, right?
Wow. Was there any resistance from either, well, first with the families
Mhm.
to participate?
Well, that's one of the concerns we had at the beginning, and we did go through that in the meeting, and we asked ourselves, what if only 14 families
Mm,
want to participate? We only get 14 consent forms back.
right.
We'll say, okay, we'll do 14 murals, and then we'll do a general mural without any faces, but maybe it'll uh, include the names of all the other children. But we were
Mm,
so happy, elated that all the families
oh,
a mural. They all wanted to
yeah.
participate,
And
and
what would,
that really got us motivated even more so. And
and I,
so again, we didn't get any as far as maybe not seeing the whole picture. We didn't understand that some of the kids were actually coming in from broken homes. So we
oh,
wanted to make sure that we asked the actual people that had custody of the children,
right, right,
and to avoid any issues like that. So
right. You've gotten feedback, I'm sure, from the parents about the value that this had for the family or how it might have influenced them. Can you recall any of those things that they said to you about the effect this had on them?
well, it's actually ongoing because
Mm,
the families use the murals for example, one family did a free backpack for before school started, and
mm,
they gave away the backpacks in front of the mural.
mm.
Rogelio's family, for one of his birthdays, they had a dinner in front of the mural.
Oh, how
Uh,
neat. Yeah.
uh, we have a couple of 5K runs for
Yeah.
raising money, and
Yeah.
so avid runners were Eva Mireles, and so they have the finish line right in front of her mural. The
Oh,
starting and finish line, I think that's a
yeah.
5K run. And
Yeah.
then Lexi's mom, Kimberly, who used to be my student, um, she has a 5K run to celebrate Lexi's interest in running and sports, and she's an avid runner.
Mm,
And so they have the finish line at Lexi's mural.
mm,
Those are
mm,
just a couple of examples. There's other examples where, again, every time the child has a birthday, we see balloons stuck on the murals and teddy bears.
mm.
People still leave stuff behind that
Yeah.
as gifts. And so Ellie's dad always uses the murals to post on Facebook, as um, really he's probably the most active taking pictures in front of the mural and posting something really positive about life. He's probably the most optimistic person on earth
Wow.
I've ever
Wow.
met. He's a
Wow.
DA, and he's also, again, a great father. All his kids are daughters, and he, of course, he lost one of his angels.
One of his
Now,
angels.
there's also posts on Facebook and other many posts where the murals have been documented by the family members. One really touching one, they're all touching, but one really that really hit me hard was Alicia's dad, Ryan, who was riding his motorcycle around, and Alicia's mural is on my building. Um, and she was a little artist, and so we put her on my building because I have an art gallery there. And he posts on Facebook that he's riding around in his motorcycle trying to clear his mind.
Mm.
And from the doom and gloom of the night, he comes across the mural and he lights it up with his motorcycle headlight
Wow.
and
Wow.
takes a picture of his daughter from
Wow.
from that angle. So you see
Wow.
the motorcycle handlebars and the light
Yeah. Yeah.
lighting. So they become a light for maybe uh, for that moment, a moment of light in their lives. The
Yeah.
movies have
Yeah.
become that. So
Yeah.
certainly. And
Well,
there's many
there's,
countless other stories, John, kind of like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, it's so moving. One of the things that parents always say or frequently say after the loss of a child is that they're afraid that they'll forget what they look like or they'll
Mhm.
forget the sound of their voice.
Right.
And you've done this. It's more than a memorial. It sounds like it's become a part of the life of the community.
And well, they were intended also to be celebrations of their lives too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they had to be portraits. That was one of the qualifications. If you wanted to be one of the artists to participate, you had to be good at painting likenesses and faces.
Mm,
So
mm.
we never forget their faces either. I know there's a slogan, remember their names, but also remember their faces.
Yeah.
Because
Beautiful.
they're just like you and me. And
Yeah.
again, these murals do take me to my own childhood, and
Hmm.
or my kids' childhood. My kids went to Robb, and so we always saw that school as a very special school. It's probably one of the better schools in town. And so we have great memories from that school. But again, I see those murals and I see my kids there too. So in that sense, um, it really brings it home. And so it helps us maybe calm that pain for a bit. So
You said something earlier about an epidemic of empathy. It might have been just before we started. Can you talk about that and how this experience in Uvalde and the mural project, uh, what it says about this need for an epidemic of empathy?
I mean that because of recent events. Again, like I told you earlier, in the 80s, we've never even heard of this thing. We couldn't even fathom thinking about something like this happening. Uh, and so it's like we've lost empathy through since those years, and we increasingly seem to be losing even more of it. And who knows what the cause is, but we tend to be colder, maybe.
Yeah,
And I say that too because uh, when maybe a year after the mural project, so there was some whispers about maybe we should paint the murals over and move on. It's already in the past and this and that. Well, those are humans, and I saw this in some of the interviews. Those are humans that lack empathy, and that led me to that whole idea that we do need an epidemic of empathy across the country because again, uh, when somebody is sympathetic towards uh, their guns and not their children, there's something wrong there with the whole of the society. You know,
yeah.
there's
Now,
something
what
rotting. There's something rotting. There's an entropy to that uh, society that needs to be, I don't know, researched or somehow figured out. So.
was there pushback? Was there pushback from lobbies or parts of the community that didn't want to have the mural?
Not very minimal, simply because I only found out about it after an interview from a Scripps reporter,
Hmm.
uh, because I had interviewed another person, and but I had so much support that is those just faded away.
Mm.
And so even today, this is why I insisted that the murals be on private property
Mm.
and not on city property, because then
Right.
right, that was one of the key reasons for choosing private walls or business walls,
Hmm.
and getting permissions, of course. Um,
Hmm.
Now, a couple of buildings have sold since then,
Mm.
and that was my biggest fear, is maybe they'll go paint over them. But we have them all still, and so I'm really grateful that the new one
Wow.
kept them. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Let's get a little bit more psychological and philosophical. I'd really like your input on the process. How do you think it is that what is it about the arts that is healing? How does that, we talked about some of the things, the family memorializing and this poor father riding around at night trying to calm his soul and then coming up, with his motorcycle light. And there's so many moving images. But what is it about art that touches this empathy and healing? What, can you talk about that? Your insights into the inner workings of the arts that give it this power?
well, those inner workings, again, it's about self-expression, and self
Mm,
refers to the soul. So it's
mm,
rooted in the soul to begin with,
mm,
and it sort of beams out into the world and comes back to the soul. So it
mm,
completes this sort of cycle, right? That it's coming from purity of the soul, and so
mm,
the empathy is there, the feeling is there, and um, I remember doing a talk at UT Austin and told them, look, we're almost like that scene in ET where he wants to cure somebody and the
oh
smoke
yeah.
goes, right? Um, and so we sort of tend to be, maybe, I don't know if we're wired differently in that sense as
Yeah.
to be more empathetic.
Mm,
But I think if that empathy was maybe, I don't know, promoted somehow, or
mm,
I don't know, advertised like we advertise products.
right.
Maybe something that's a change we might need in our country to bring about change overall.
Yeah.
But it's like the photographs that Louis Hine, the photographer, took in the turn of the century on child labor,
Mm,
and it winds up influencing change. It took
mm,
20 something years, but it brought
mm,
about change, and we had child labor laws, and
mm,
the society as a whole understood that that's the future of our country, and they're
mm,
being educated. So what kind of future is the country going to have, right?
mm, mm,
And so again, the whole idea um, of creating a project that's going to maybe plant a seed for the future,
mm,
also
mm.
part of that. So, and back
Wow.
to your question, can you remind me of the question again? The second part.
Well, it just, I think you touched on it, is that what is it about the arts
Mm-hmm.
that has this power to create empathy?
Oh, right. Yes. Again, it's because it's rooted in the soul. And
Yeah.
so, especially when it's about expressing um, kindness, expressing um, a connection about whatever event or
Mm,
person, grief, you name it. Again, art has that power to bring about some kind of
mm,
calmness and peace.
mm.
So these spaces in front of the murals have become sort of sacred spaces
Yeah.
and sanctuaries, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, when the families can't go to the cemetery at night, they'll go to the mural, things like
Oh,
this.
right.
That's sort of even the space immediately right in front of the mural where the items have been left by people from all over that come and leave the things there, uh,
Wow.
have has become a little space of a little sanctuary, if you will.
Mm, 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 mm. And it's also personal and intimate, and you related, your experience as an immigrant child, just a week in the United States, being pushed into this new environment of a school, and the trauma of that, the disruption of that, and how the arts were able to help you bridge what looked like an impossible gap and actually to connect with people just with the Superman drawing or a
No.
Snoopy drawing. And so your personal experience now is being amplified in this really tremendous way. And there's this interaction between the personal and the social. It's just something about when something is truly authentic, when it really is an expression of your soul, there's something universal about it too that touches other souls.
Where the personal becomes a universal. And
Yeah.
so I remember back in grad school at University of Iowa, we had a famous art critic come in, and I asked him that, well, is my work too personal? It's like, it's about my growing up on the border, Chicano art, iconography that's border, Spanglish and everything else.
Mm.
And he said, no, look at Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo's pain
Yeah,
became
yeah.
universal. It was
Right.
very personal, but it became universal.
Good
And so
example.
there's an example there of how that personal can turn into universal.
Yeah,
And that universal, I guess that universal element is empathy.
yeah. And some people find it difficult to look at pain, at their own pain.
Mhm.
And one of the things that the arts do is it offers a door where someone might be able to look at something that was otherwise overwhelming uh, to their own experience. By joining in with a universal experience, it becomes more easy to integrate, easy to think about, easier to reflect on.
And those become the bridges that connects
Yeah,
us together, that
yeah.
experience of having that grief and that pain. And so art can also become that bridge.
That's absolutely phenomenal. Now, I know a project like this takes a village to pull off. It can't be done by one person. I mean, you had to organize resources, you had to find artists, you had to get permissions. Who came together? How did that all happen? Um,
Well, again, it is amazing thinking back at it, especially when we did the whole project in 3 months and 10 days.
wow, wow,
But remember, we didn't start it right away. We waited until the last funeral. Uh,
right.
but once the team was already in place before we started the whole project, we already had the plan as far as moving forward.
Mm.
Uh, uh, Dr. Mesa out in LA and the Facebook group organized a subcommittee where they started to do an online art auction to raise
Wow,
money for the project.
wow,
And I donated one of my pieces. Many artists across the country donated pieces.
wow.
And then Monica out of Austin, she and her nonprofit did a GoFundMe
But
and
Monica
got it a little
Maldonado.
bit more. And so we wind up with a whole team that really was moved by the whole event, that wanted to participate. Nobody got paid. All the artists came in. We did pay for their meals and their gas and their supplies, but and their, of course, their what do you call it, their lodging.
Mm.
But uh, it was a labor of love squared, if you want to call it that. And so not only that, the artists wanted to come back and help again, even if they were done with their mural. Said, can I come back and assist?
Mm.
Because they were really they took
Yeah,
a piece of Uvalde with them, and they
yeah,
wanted to come back and keep helping. We had
yeah.
so many occasions where the artists came back to help.
Wow,
And
wow.
so that was really touching. And when, as we were painting, we had people from all over come by, and we're so into the project that we really didn't pay attention to what was going on social media. I remember a
Mm.
lady from California came up. You guys are going viral on YouTube, and I didn't even know who put us on YouTube. But anyway, uh, we were so focused that we really weren't paying attention to that in the process of making the project. But eventually we'd start sharing pictures and everything else. And people would from the community would come by and drop off tacos and burgers
Mm.
and ice and water. And so really the community came together uh,
Wow.
for the project. And that was really beautiful to see how everybody was touched in the community. That's why there's very little pushback, because those
Mm.
are the people that championed the whole project. We had an instance where we were running out of money for the equipment because we had to rent lifts and stuff like
Sure.
that, right?
Yep. Mhm.
And lighting, because by the way, we painted at night. It's 110 degrees in the day. It
Oh
didn't
man.
rain for months, right?
Oh my.
And you can't paint on a hot wall because the paint
Yeah.
is going
Won't
to come
stick.
off.
Yeah.
It won't
Yeah.
stick. And so we had our temperature gauges, and with being the walls,
Whoa.
it's too hot, let's wait another hour. Um,
Whoa.
and I don't know if you've ever been to Texas, especially this area. It's like
It's an oven.
I like to say that the devil used to live here, but it got too hot and moved away. Uh, But
Yeah. Yeah.
so we painted from either really early in the morning up to 10 o'clock and started to get too hot, or we painted all night. And I would
Wow.
paint till 2:30 in the morning when I did my.
Wow.
Um, but the families were usually always there with us.
Wow.
They would sit, they bring out their chairs,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
they would play music, and they
Wow.
would tell stories about the children, and
Mm.
they would cook sometimes. They would do barbecues,
Mm. Mm.
and it was just very moving to see the families also. One
Yeah.
my the again, Steve, Ellie's family was there with me every day,
Wow.
every night, and really listening to their stories, sort of, and I'm
Mm.
painting Ellie. Really just got me even closer, not only to the family but to Ellie. So, and that's
Right. Right. And how much that must have helped the family.
yeah.
What do you think, Abel? What enduring effect do you think this had on Uvalde?
Well, I'm hoping that the voices of empathy remain stronger than the voices of apathy, and so that is something that the murals hopefully will keep uh, doing. We did seal them for about 30 years, right? And hopefully when those 30 years pass, somebody else can seal them and keep them. Because again, they're a needed, uh, necessarily want to, maybe a needed instrument that's needed in many other places too, that haven't had this experience uh, of having a mural project after such a tragedy, right? That we have an actual place that can calm us and that can become a sanctuary, right? Where maybe in Newton they don't have that, or maybe in other places, Parkland, maybe they don't have that yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember one of the artists that painted Nave. She got off the lift and had it was really hot, so I brought her some ice cream, and she says I've been thinking about this, Abel. All the shootings that have happened, nobody has reacted at this level with a mural project. And
Mm.
so this might be a template for future, sadly,
Yeah.
future
Yeah.
tragedies like this. And I told her, well, let's hope not, because we don't want to see this again. And
Yeah.
and and that's sort of the world we live in today, John.
Yeah.
Is that the truth is, Nashville and everything else happened, Georgia happened afterwards, that really reopens up those wounds, and that's why these murals are here, because they help heal the wound again. And so that's sort of I guess hopefully this is why I say they need to be, in a sense, permanent, because the pain is permanent
Yeah.
and it's going to be resurfacing. But the murals are there to remind us that we need to celebrate life, and we need to have empathy for our fellow human. Uh, Again, back to even religious teachings of love thy neighbor,
Yeah.
which doesn't specify what your neighbor looks
Yeah.
like or acts like, or what they do, but you just love
Right.
your neighbor, right?
Exactly. And the world's a neighborhood now. So
Right.
that means love everybody, not
Yeah,
just the people next door.
and you build bridges between the
Yeah.
neighbors, so,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
hopefully these murals do become maybe iconic for change in that sense, or icons of change, if you
Yeah.
will, for a
Yeah.
positive, more empathetic society in our
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah. It's a powerful, powerful activity. And I think it's become a living memorial, hasn't it?
Yes.
This interaction of the community and the families with the murals. It's a wonderful transformation because it's not denying the suffering and the loss, but it's reducing it to the empathy that we all can share, that can bind us together as a human family. I think it's the best of humanity coming out, and I think you've done a wonderful thing. It's
Well, thank you. Again, it was a whole team that came together. And again, at first, I was sort of ambitious. I told my wife, if I have to do it myself, it'll take me 8 years, but I'll do it. And that's what I reached out to art organizations in San Antonio, close by, and then I started to make network, and then Dr. Mesa texted me the next day, and he started to work on his end, and then just so happens that Monica Maldonado was that in that weekend was in town to do a general mural
oh,
that a friend of hers was going to do at a house or something like that in a small building, and I had put out the call for help, and she answered it. And look, I have experience working with mural artists. I'm a project manager. I also have my nonprofit, which was fairly new at that point.
mm,
Um, and so I interviewed her at my gallery that following Monday, and then Dr. Mesa and I started to do some background, and we couldn't find any information on the nonprofit. Is this legit and this and that? But we found out it was a new nonprofit this way. It wasn't
mm,
have a footprint yet, but we brought her on board, and again, that sort of put the team together along with everybody else that assisted raising money, the
mm,
artists that donated artwork to raise money, and then eventually all the artists that wanted to come in to actually paint. So it really came together kind of quite quickly because people wanted to help. Is that
mm,
empathy? Again, that empathy
mm.
drive the driver behind this.
Yeah, yeah.
And so now, as yes, they're become living memorials in that sense, because people come from all over and they'll leave little teddy bears. And every time I go by, because I go by regularly to go check and see maybe there's a paint peeling, and I go have
Mhm,
to retouch it. Um, uh, there's a balloon because somebody had a birthday, and there's balloons on that mural, and so the community is really um, using the murals to celebrate their birthdays, for example, because their birthdays are posted on Facebook and people go leave balloons or flowers.
mhm, mhm,
And so that's the sort of interaction that the community continues to have with the murals too. So in that sense, they're living their celebrations of life. Um, and therefore this is why we all use bright colors and very playful
mhm.
colors. One of the background questions was, what was their favorite color? And so we based a lot of the colors in the murals based on their favorite colors too. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know in Newtown there were all kinds of arts projects that sprang up, but nothing as dramatic as a mural project.
mhm.
So what strikes me about what you've done is this idea of it being like a living art piece. People can interact with it every single day, and not just personally, but the town can. And so it almost sounds like it has the feel of like it echoes through the community. You might not have gone to see it, or maybe I didn't go, but my wife went with a friend the other day, or I saw that my friend went, and
Right.
I'm comforted knowing that someone else went. And so the kind of the web of the community is
Right.
strengthened in empathy as a result.
And one of the things too is what I tell people is that you can see all the pictures you want on the murals online and social media, but once you experience them in person, because art needs to be experienced in person,
Mm,
don't forget those experiences,
yeah.
uh, especially the walking between them, and that meditation you might do, and then thinking about the next child
Mm,
and the teacher, and so you wind up having an experience that becomes part of your life the rest of your life, and you take a piece of Uvalde in that sense with you after
yeah,
walking the murals, and so the
yeah.
experience is really that interactive part that really that I mean, I've had people cry in front of me that we were just painting. In fact, when we were adding lights to the murals, because somebody out east donated lights, since a family member had asked about lights, and so she was able to get us lights, and so we're installing them. I'm installing them with one of the kids' grandfathers helping me install the lights. He actually did all the work. I was just assisting him. Anyway, there was a lady that came by, and she started to ask about the murals, and she just couldn't hold back. That's the power that the murals have,
Yeah.
and that empathy, that connection that she made with the mural that she was talking about. One of the experiences too that I also won't forget is when I was painting Ellie. I would sometimes get down to see the painting from a distance, and there was an Air Force officers that had parked uh, at the town square because my mural's right across from the town square. And they walked over and said, and they introduced themselves. There were officers, and one of them is from Kansas City, and said, "Look, we were at a meeting at a conference at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, and we decided we have some hours off. We decided to rent a car and drive over here to see the mural project."
Wow.
And he asked me about the mural. That's what I'm painting Ellie, and he asked, "Why is she wearing a basketball shirt, and why is she carrying a basketball?" Because she won the championship that weekend before, and she's 10 years old. She's around 10 years old. She's going to be 10, and he started to uh, cry at that point, and he told me why. It's because his son was also 10 back in Kansas City, and he had just won the basketball championship.
Oh,
So is that connection right away
wow.
he made, and it
Wow.
really touched him.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, that's a sort of one of many experiences that the murals have, even from people that are not from this immediate community. The whole country as a community uh,
Yeah.
can benefit by seeing them in person.
Yeah.
Experiencing
Yeah.
them.
Well, it's beneath empathy is pain, right? It's experiencing with compassion the pain of another person, and resonating with it because of your own
Right.
pain.
Mhm.
So it's unfortunate that humans seem to wait for the empathy to come after pain has occurred or a terrible loss. But
Mhm.
just the striking nature of the mural, where you have this child who is now dead, who is portrayed in larger than life ways in the simplicity of their childhood, in the beauty of their childhood. It's extremely moving. And we all have our own pain that we hide it. We don't acknowledge it even to ourselves sometimes, let alone share it with others. So these are some of the reasons people don't want to know about it or don't want to look at it. But
Right.
it sounds like what you've done is really masterful, that
Mhm.
you've portrayed this loss in a way that people can interact with it in a way that I think it facilitates uh, the empathy, where the fear of the pain doesn't push them away. I think that's a masterful accomplishment.
Well, thank you. But also that you mentioned that the size of the portrait had to be large. It had to be monumental because the pain's monumental. And
Mhm.
that's the only way you can confront that pain is by having this monumental portrait. And again, you won't forget that experience of standing before this giant, huge monumental portrait that really envelopes you into their life because you're basically surrounded by the image in a sense. And so I think that's part of that effect of having experiencing
Mm.
the mural in person versus
Yeah,
a
yeah,
picture
yeah,
won't give you that effect. In
yeah.
person,
Yeah, that's the size. Yeah, the
right.
the the humility it engenders before our own pain. We're powerless over certain things in life. And so humility, and then our joining in the experience of pain through our empathy and compassion. Abel, I think you've done a wonderful thing.
Well,
And
thank you.
yeah, and I think we'll wrap there. And it's an honor to have spoken with you. And I'm sure this project will keep unfolding because, as you said, it's a living memorial.
Right.
So it'll grow
I'm
up.
hoping, yeah, I'm hoping that it does have this lasting effect, not only on Uvalde County, but the whole nation.
Yeah,
That it
yeah,
will produce some kind of change, even though it might take years, like Lewis
yeah,
Hines photography did with child labor laws. Uh, it 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 uh, it might be something that I won't see in my lifetime, but again, it's something that maybe hopefully uh, others will, and we'll get this past this uh, tragedy of violence that we have in our country, uh,
yeah,
and
yeah,
we're better for it at the other end.
yeah,
Now, um, the the idea that we talked about earlier, the stitching idea, again, like I said, those stitches sometimes break with a new tragedy, and so the murals will be there as um, uh, part of that resealing of the wound, right?
yeah,
Restitching of the
yeah,
wounds.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, another thing you've done is you've broken the isolation. You know, when people suffer to this degree, it's extremely isolating. How do you relate your experience to someone else? And so that's a suffering on top of the grievous loss.
Right.
And you've broken that.
Mhm.
You've broken the isolation and created community out of empathy. I don't know if there's a more spiritual act, a more healing act, a more politically healing act than that. I think you, as a man, you have succeeded. As an
Oh,
artist, you have
thank you.
succeeded.
Thank you.
Um, well, I think we'll wrap it up there, Abel. And again, I can't begin to thank you for your time. And I hope this is the beginning of more collaboration where we can find ways to reach the goal you just said, to heal this nation and to heal the world. And so we don't have to go through this kind of suffering to have that sense of empathy.
Well said. Yes, exactly. And again, been my pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to be here with you today. And again, I look forward maybe to future projects with you too. I think
Okay.
this is a very important project that you're working on. So again, more power to you, and I'm here to help.
Thanks, Abel.
Thank you, John.
All right. So at that, I'll do this, and that's a sign that I'll edit from that point. And then now you and I can just speak off camera, so to speak.
Okay.
No, I really, everything I said, I meant.
Thank you.
It is truly, truly inspiring. And I don't know of any other community that's had gun violence that had a mural. I think this is a
Well,
rich,
right, and that's what the artist, her name was Brittany Johnson. That's what she had thought about as she was painting Neve, and she thought back at Santa Fe, at all of them, and so many that it's
so
so sad.
many, yeah.
I think so many of them. Um, that she said maybe this is a template for future tragedy, sadly, but I told her again, I hope we don't get to see that, but sadly, there's other memorials, yes, and hopefully those memorials also last a long time.
Oop, I lost your sound.
Well, I'm hoping that
Yep.
I'm saying that there's other memorials too, like maybe at Sandy Hook or Newton.
Yeah, we've got a big one. Yeah.
Right, and but the murals I thought they had to be monumental because I told you earlier that the pain's going to be
The
monumental.
pain is monumental. Yeah. There's a beautiful, beautiful memorial that was made for the kids. But it's not a living mural like this. I
Mhm.
think this is brilliant.
Well,
It's a gift of profound value to the community. You've done a wonderful thing, Abel.
well, thank you,
Um,
John. And you know
well, let's
what?
do this. Oh,
Coming
I'm
from
losing your
oh,
audio again.
did okay? Can you hear me now?
No, it might be no, I'm not hearing you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, no. Okay, there you are. Okay.
Okay, good. I don't know if it's my computer here too. Now,
Yeah.
and I was saying because from Chicano art, if you're familiar with Chicano art,
Mhm.
muralism has a whole history behind that. And
Ah,
this is one of the ways we express ourselves is through monumental uh,
right.
art that is open to everyone. That's why it's an open air gallery in a sense too. Um, and so this is where the whole idea, why not just do portraits? Well, let's do murals because everybody can see them. And a
Oh,
portrait
man.
remains in a house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I may edit that, what you just said, into the video. That's an
Oh,
important
so
point.
you feel free to. Yeah, I just forgot to mention that
No,
earlier.
there's so much. Well, maybe we'll do another one. So I want to promote this every way I can. We've got the Tuesdays are the Athena project, which is basically I showed you the video,
Right.
and so it's all about the arts and transformation, and I've started with what I know, which is communities that have had horrible losses of children. And
Right.
and the thing is, with the climate in the country right now, I think it's profoundly hopeful, your message, in that if Uvalde can find a way to increase their sense of empathy and unity
Hmm.
because of such a horror, then we can do anything.
Right.
Anything's possible then. We don't have to be afraid of each other. We don't have
Right.
to be afraid of difficulty and
Mhm.
struggle and suffering. But what we do need to do is have that empathy you talked about.
Well, it's the empathy is what makes us, besides art, empathy is the other thing that really makes us human, you know.
There you go.
Now, I did forget to mention this to you, John, because that's good for you to know this, is every time the anniversary, or I don't call it anniversary, but the date,
Yeah.
like last year and the year before, um, the families, before they have the um, open air event where they have a celebration of the children's lives and they sing and they have songs and have speakers come in at the open air amphitheater downtown, they walk the murals first. All the family members, extended families, cousins,
Oh,
and they
wow.
go from mural to mural first, and then they go to the amphitheater. And,
Wow.
and so that's another way that they use the murals. Uh,
Wow.
and not on the I want to say the word anniversary, but
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
date. So that's what they've been doing with the murals
Wow.
too. Because
Wow.
I forgot to add that to that.
Yeah. I'll make sure that's in there too.
Okay.
Well, about I feel like I found my Hispanic Texan brother. I'm
You
I'm
if
I'm
you're ever down here, John, give me a call and I'll give you a tour of the murals. We'll have some Mexican food or something. And
Oh, okay, absolutely. It's going to happen. I'm going to do that.
yeah,
Yeah, we got our work cut out for us. The world's going to hell quickly,
yeah.
and
I think we need more of us
yeah.
to battle that, right? So,
Okay, well, I think the good Lord will help us if we just
mhm.
arise, huh?
Right, and we practice what we preach too.
And
So,
we practice what
uh,
we preach. Yeah.
right, exactly. So,
That's it for today's episode of the Athena Project on the arts and transformation. Get a healthy dose of upliftment every Tuesday with more episodes of the Athena Project, which is brought to you by Healing the Heart of America, where every day we have a different theme to bring unity to the country and upliftment to hearts. I'm your host, Dr. John Woodall, reminding you we need each other.